Hey guys, how you all doing on this fine Witch's Eve today? Today, I don't know why I said that. Today we are going to be looking at 25 last-minute Christmas gifts you can get for a computer nerd or, somebody who builds a lot of computers for under $25. Some of them people might already have, so you might want to figure out if they already have it or not. I mean, obviously. So yeah, let's get into the video. So the first thing on the list that I compiled is the Hyperx double shot PBT keycaps. Essentially, these are keycaps for somebody's a mechanical or even not mechanical keyboard. That if the keyboard has lights in it, essentially they have like a transparent portion around the keycaps instead of being just black with the text lighting up. The keycap itself lights up as well and gives more of like a cool look if somebody, say, has an RGB keyboard. The next thing that we have is a headphone stand. Now this particular headphone stand, you can get, there's a ton of different headphone stands. Some of them have like lighting on them, some of them have chargers in them. But the one that I have picked out right here is an under-desk headphone holder, so it attaches under your desk. It can hold up to 2 headphones. It's got 3 USB charging ports. You can also hang cables on it or other things. And it does, so yeah, I think, does it support? No, it does not. It's just normal charging, but yeah. So you kind of can stick it with adhesive under your desk or with screws. Yeah, it charges your stuff, and you can hold cable and headphones. So yeah, that is $24.99, so just under the price, the budget, that's it, I guess. Next thing on the list is Easy DIY Fab RGB fan controller hub. This product doesn't have any reviews or anything on Amazon, but I've used some of their products before, and they're definitely a little bit on the cheaper side. They're like Chinese products, but I would say that they are pretty good quality. And essentially what this does is it's a hub. Essentially, you can plug in all of your addressable RGB devices and a bunch of fans into it. You can either, if you don't have an RGB controller on your motherboard, you can use this to control it. You can hook it up to the reset button on your case, or you can press the buttons on it. You can also hook it up to your motherboard and have it controlled through a motherboard software. So yeah, I think this is this is like the cheapest addressable RGB hub that I've seen. And as I said, I've used their products, so I would say I have pretty good faith in this, especially because people have definitely bought it. If it was bad, they would leave a bad review. So yeah, this is definitely a cool thing, and I think most people could probably use this, especially, PC enthusiasts that are on a little bit more of a budget. All right. Now, the next thing is some thermal paste. This thermal paste is from a company where you can find it on AliExpress, which I don't think will ship in time, but if you can get it on AliExpress and it somehow will ship in time, it costs about like $3, and obviously maybe thinking, oh well, that's garbage, it costs $30, or it's like really small. It is technically, it's not, it's 30 grams, which your typical is like 7 grams or so it's a lot of thermal paste. And it's actually tested by a YouTuber by the name of Tech Yes City. You should go check out his videos. Look at his video on it. He compared the performance and found it to be comparable to the performance of pretty much your standard stuff. So basically, I'm going to be linking to Newegg, where you can get, where there's a package of 2 of these, so 60 grams of the thermal paste, and that is $17. So obviously you're not getting as good a deal if you were to get on AliExpress, but AliExpress typically takes around 1 month or more to ship, so I wouldn't risk it, especially because I'm not uploading this video that far in advance. But yeah, even $16 is still a very good deal, because it'd be about $60 to get the equivalent thermal paste from a more well-known, like a name brand thermal paste. All right, so on to the next one. The next thing we have is a power supply tester. Now this is useful if the person who you're getting this for, or I mean if you're getting it for yourself, because I'm sure that some people are just watching this and getting shit for themselves. But anyways, this one, this is essentially it. You can plug in a power supply. If you're buying, say, a used power supply, getting a deal, and you want to test and see if it works, without having to hook it up to a system, you can basically plug it into this device and plug it into the wall, and it will tell you the voltages and stuff and make sure that it's all working correctly. So yeah, this is definitely very helpful for troubleshooting if you are buying a lot of used stuff, and you don't, say, have a test bench or something that you want to take apart all the time. All right, so moving on to the next one. The next thing that we have is the Cooler Master vertical GPU bracket with a RGB strip on it. Now, this is not the most necessary thing, but it's something that I think, a lot of people probably don't have. It's not a necessary computer component, but it can be helpful in some situations. It also just adds some nice aesthetics. Essentially just supports your graphics card to make sure that it's not sagging, and of course it has an addressable RGB strip on it, so you can have some fancy lights. I'm sure that it's something that not a lot of people have, and something that a lot of people would use. Anyways, yeah, on to the next one. The next one we have is a M.2 SSD heatsink. This has a RGB strip, which is again addressable, and it also has a tiny fan on it. Now I don't really know if this is loud or not. I looked on the Amazon reviews because obviously nobody's reviewed it. I might buy it and review it, but it's not a priority for me. But it doesn't seem really loud from what I've heard, but who knows? It could be they might just not be noticing it. But it does seem like a pretty cool little thing. RGB fans, all people like it. I don't know. So on to the next thing. The next thing is a Cherry MX mechanical keyboard tester. So basically what this is, it's a little piece of plastic that that comes with a bunch of Cherry MX keys stuck in it, and it comes with clear keycaps for those, and then some O-rings. Basically, it's a little holder for testing mechanical switches. If you want to what they feel like, demonstrate to some other person what they feel like, just kind of mess around yourself. All right, so the next item on the list is an anti-static sort of rubber mat that you can use that has some markings on it and some trays. You can use it for taking apart sensitive electronics. If you don't want to get static on them, it also has a ruler and some little screw trays, so you can keep your screws organized while you're taking stuff apart. It does plug. It does have a wire which you can basically plug the anti-static straps in. You can put one around your arm, one onto the mat. Is my arm in frame? One around your arm, and I'm actually sitting on a mat right now. Not that mat, but just a different mat. And then you can essentially, what you can do is you can unscrew the screw on your outlet plate, and you can screw that little grounding thing, and that should ground out the thing, so you don't have to worry about static. And as I said, you get some rulers and some organization for your screws and stuff when you're taking stuff apart. So yeah, that one's definitely a good thing to get. All right, the next thing I have is the Arctic P12 Value Pack. It is essentially five 120 millimeter all black case fans. So yeah, I find a lot of the times when I'm building computers, I want to throw in an extra fan, but I don't really have a lot of fans. These are pretty much perfect because they're only about $24, and comes with five fans. They're all black. They look very nice, so you don't really have to worry about colors clashing if you want to add some extra intake fans or something. So yeah, this is definitely a very useful thing to get, I would say, most PC enthusiasts. All right, another thing is a set of 3 magnetic screw trays. These basically they have a magnet in them, and you can stick it to something magnetic, and also anything you put in it will stay in it. So you put a screw in it, the screw will be magnetized into the cup, and it will stay there. So you could literally put it on the side of a wall and throw your screw in it, and even though it's cup shaped and it's on the side, so anything would fall out, the magnet keeps stuff in. So if you bump it or knock it on the floor, well, I mean, if you knock it on the floor, some things might fall out, but they probably won't. So it's pretty good for that. If you so it will keep your screws in place while you're just taking stuff apart and keep it organized. All right, the next thing that I have on the list is a USB 3.0 switch. Essentially what this does is you can hook this up to 2 computers. So say you have a test bench and your main PC, you can hook up your keyboard and mouse to it, and you can press a button, switch between the two. So say you want to do something on your test bench, you can you know, switch over to the test bench and do something on your test bench, like do some tests, like test some games or something, and then you can switch back over to your other PC and like do your normal stuff, and you don't have to like unplug and plug into a different computer. So yeah, this will essentially help with that because, you know, you can just easily switch between the two. There are softwares that you can do this, but I think a hardware solution is much nicer because you don't really have to set anything up, and you can, you know, switch out which computers you're using very easily. You know, say if you're just putting what computer on, and you just need to like go through and, you know, test it. Like, you don't have to install software to be able to use your keyboard and mouse on it. Anyways, the next thing we have is a SATA to USB adapter. Now this one is a powered version. It's $18, which, you know, might seem a little bit more expensive compared to some other ones, but this one, because it's powered, you shouldn't have any compatibility issues with any drives. Essentially why this is nice is because you can take a hard drive out of, say, a broken computer or something, you can plug it into your computer and you can mess with the files, and it's a lot easier. You could definitely just plug it into the SATA ports inside your computer, but it's a little easier if you just plug it into an external port. It makes kind of troubleshooting and, you know, loading software onto computers that don't, you know, work or that need, you know, something like that a lot easier. So yeah. As I said, this one is $18. Alright, so the next thing on the list is a Silverstone Technology wireless remote control power and reset switch. Now this is $25, so it's definitely up at the top end of the stuff. But what it allows you to do is turn on and off and reset your PC from a remote control. Now, for me, this isn't really useful, but if your PC is in, say, a hard to reach location, you don't have to like want to reach down and press the buttons, you know, this could be useful. It's also just kind of cool. I mean, if you don't really care about getting someone something that they would actually use, you know, like all the time, you know, you could get this for as long. It's definitely a cool gimmick or something, you know. I'm sure, you know, whoever would get it for could would be, you know, it's kind of just a fun little thing, you know. But yeah, anyways, the next thing is also another thing from Silverstone is essentially a screw kit. So this essentially just includes a bunch of PC screws, which I find super useful because I am always in need of screws. I never have enough. You know, like, cases do come with screws, but somehow, like, I still end up using more screws than I get in. So this is definitely helpful because it includes some screws. It also includes some cable management ties that are reusable. And there's a lot of extra room in there. So if you wanted to add more screws into what's already in there, there's enough space that you could use this as a screw organizer and not just a package, which I think was what it's kind of intended for, because it looks to be made out of it looks made out of like solid plastic and not like flimsy packing material. Alright, the next one, you probably want to figure out if the person already has it because it's a screwdriver. Now, obviously everybody has a screwdriver, and of course, you know, it's not just a normal screwdriver. Well, it kind of is, but it's a screwdriver with a ton of interchangeable bits. It has, I don't know how many it has. It says 119 pieces, but there are extra pieces that aren't technically screwdriver bits. But anyways, essentially it includes all of the, you know, screwdriver bits that you could ever need for disassembling or, you know, any sort of electronics. I mean, most of these aren't really needed for like just your standard computer, but a lot of times, even though we do build computers, we also mess around with a lot of other electronic stuff. And, you know, I have one of these. It's an iFixit version, which is like $70, which is really expensive, so I couldn't include it on this list. It's a nice kit, but it's been really helpful for me. It's pretty much the same thing. So yeah, it definitely got a lot of use out of that. And this one is pretty much similar. It's $25 from a brand I've never heard of, but, you know, it gets good reviews, like basically 500 5-star reviews. So it's, for me, it seems pretty good, probably worth recommending for me. You know, honestly, just, you know, if the person just has a normal screwdriver, like a couple like screwdrivers, this is probably a good thing to get for them, because it'll allow them to, you know, mess around with a lot of electronic parts that, you know, may not have been able to get access to before. All right, the next one, this is for cable management. This is a 1,000 pack of zip ties, and 1,000 seems like a lot. You may think, probably don't need to get 1,000. Get 1,000. Go through zip ties all the time. At least me. I built so many computers, you know, and for a while I had a pack of zip ties. I think it was like a 250 pack, but that only lasted me like a couple months. And so, well, maybe it was a little more than a couple months. But anyways, it didn't last me that long at all. But zip ties are so helpful for builds. You know, a lot of times, you know, you might want to use, say, like a Velcro cable tie because it's, you know, reusable in all situations. But amazingly, that's just for your main PC. If you're building a lot of other PCs, or if you're, you know, selling PCs or building PCs for friends, you know, you're definitely going to use zip ties, and you just go through them so fast. It's, you know, it's nice to just have so many zip ties that you don't need to care about, you know, using like only a certain amount, because, like, you know, the more zip ties, the cleaner the cable management is, and, you know, it's definitely something that is really nice to have for pretty much all PC enthusiasts. All right. The next one is a clamp multimeter. This is obviously a little bit more advanced into like kind of electronics side. So, you know, this may or may not, it's not 100% PC enthusiast stuff, but it definitely still has a lot of uses for PC enthusiast. It has a clamp on the top, which can be used to measure, you know, current. And you can use this, I made sure this one measures AC/DC voltage with the clamp, so you could measure like wires on the inside of your PC, how much current is going through those, for like measuring how much power a graphics card is drawing or something. Obviously, if you're just shopping for someone you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to understand any of this, but I made sure this works for, you know, PC stuff as well as other stuff. Honestly, multimeters are just super handy for, you know, testing electronics. In, you know, all of this kind of it's like built-in flashlight. I'm not sure why you would need that, but it does. And yeah, so this is definitely something that I would think is really helpful. It's technically 38 cents over budget, but it was the only one that I could find that measures AC/DC through the clamp that was cheap enough, and it does get good ratings, so it's not like cheap crap. So yeah, definitely would recommend that meter. Okay, yeah, two 12-inch adjustable RGB strips, which is really helpful for, you know, decorating up your computer. And yeah, so they're basically, it's $20. You get two strips, 12 inches each. So yeah, I would say that's a pretty good deal. There's not much to say. It just kind of makes your PC look cool because of fancy lights. But yeah, the next thing that I have is another RGB product. This is the Deep Cool RGB Converter. This allows you to plug, say, an adjustable RGB strip, like the one I mentioned before, into a 12-volt header. Now, the person who you're buying this may have a 5-volt RGB header for their RGB, which, you know, you wouldn't want to use this because it sort of limits the functionality. But say you did have a product that does use 5-volt RGB and you wanted to plug it and you didn't have like a plug for it, you know, this allows you to be able to use this even if you don't have it. It's $15. So I would say it's a pretty good deal. So, like, the person may be able to use this and say like a sort of a secondary build if they already have the 5-volt RGB header in their main build. The next one that I have is an Ethernet switch. This is a 5-port gigabit switch. Now, this is really helpful if you have multiple computers you want to run at once. You can essentially plug in one Ethernet cable into the switch, and then you get an Ethernet cable going out to each of your computers. It's a really simple, cheap switch. It's $18. You kind of just plug in power and you plug in your Ethernet cables, and it's all good to go. I have one of these. It works really well. So yeah, that's definitely something I would recommend. Another thing that I have is a boom microphone. Now, a lot of PC enthusiasts like to have, you know, nice headphones, and rather than, say, a gaming headset. This only applies if the person has like doesn't have a gaming headset and just real headphones. Essentially what this is, it's a cable that you would, say, plug into your PC, right? And on the end of it, it plugs into your headphones. But right at that plug, there's a little mic that comes out, so you can essentially convert any headphones into a headset. It has the standard 3.5 millimeter jack, and if you know the person has specific headphones that have, say, a different one, like the Audio-Technica headphones, which are actually the ones I have, they have a different connector that goes into the headphones. You can buy those for that person. And so yeah, this is just, I would say, really useful if the person doesn't have a headset but actual headphones because they want better audio. Obviously, it's not going to be the best audio, but it definitely works. Most people use headsets for just talking to people in games. And yeah, it does include some inline controls as well, and a braided cable. So it seems pretty good. Obviously, haven't tried it, but it does get good reviews, and I've seen it recommended places. So yeah, something that I would recommend. But yeah, one of the last things on here is a Windows 10 key. Now, basically, I'm not sure. I mean, I would assume most people probably have their main PC with Windows activated. I actually don't. Obviously, there are a lot of people who don't have Windows activated. But you know, if you're a PC enthusiast, you're probably building a lot of different computers, and it's really helpful to have a Windows license key if you need to unlock a new build computer, because Windows is really expensive to buy new, and the watermark that you get if you don't pay is annoying. So you can get this from a third-party website for like $15, and it pretty much it just unlocks Windows for you, allows you to like customize wallpapers and stuff, and have a valid copy of Windows. So yeah, it's definitely something that I would recommend you to buy for somebody. Definitely a useful thing. Down to our last two items on the list. First off, we have a sort of power meter wall socket thing. You can plug it into the wall, and you plug, say, your computer into the wall, and you can measure how much power it draws. This is helpful for knowing, a system's power consumption, and whether or not you're getting the most out of, say, a power supply. All that is definitely a cool gift. Honestly, just a fun thing to, look at, get to observe your system's power, even if the person you're getting it for doesn't have the most practical use for it. Anyways, that's about like $12, $13, and you can find it on Amazon pretty easy. So now, last thing on our list. Now, this one's a bit of a joke. So if the person who you're buying this for is very well versed in, internet and kind of meme culture, I sound like a boomer saying that, but like somebody who's like would understand, like, don't buy this for a boomer, because they wouldn't understand. Somebody who's like, watches a lot of tech YouTube and stuff, only buy this for that kind of person. But what it is, it's a Swiss Army knife that hopefully has a screwdriver in it, and a Livestrong wristband. Don't ask me why, but you should get that. It's an amazing gift, trust me. Alright, yeah, so that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully these tips, or hopefully these gifts may have been helpful to you in your last-minute quest for a gift for friends or family, and I will see you in the next one.